There are a lot of people who wait for a deadline to get started, particularly for important work, whether that's preparing taxes, doing a report, taking out the garbage. They often feel like waiting until it's really important. And this can make sense, as why would we do something that doesn't seem true? If it's not important right now, why do it? It'll be important later. A habit of waiting until a deadline before starting work creates its own self-fulfilling troubles, and I think many of us know this. But what's not quite so obvious is that what we're truly doing is we're waiting for the emotion of urgency to overwhelm the I don't wanna feelings. We're helpless to act in either state. We're trying to leverage one against the other. We're depending on anxiety. While urgency is truly something that can engage us, it actually is worse than it looks like because it comes with its own host of emotions that follow it. Anger, for example, when we tell ourselves, I can't believe I have to do this. Or shame, when we say, I can't believe I've let it go on for this long. There's, of course, frustration, where, where's the stuff that I need to do this? And everything's scattered everywhere. You can combine that with shame and say, if only I'd gotten my stuff together earlier. There's hopelessness. How can I possibly get this done on time? And there's a helpless feeling sometimes where you feel like you can't ask for help. Maybe you've done it too much. How am I always winding up in this spot? Still, somehow maybe you make it once again. You muddle through with the help of perhaps sleeplessness, some caffeine, a few self-recriminating harsh words, all help to drown out these otherwise crushing emotions. And you may even do the thing well. Supposedly, this would mean that you've learned your lesson somehow. That, next time I should start earlier. I'm more capable than I think. It's not usually as bad as I thought it would be. How often do those lessons actually internalize? I'm guessing not often. But why not? What's going on? These negative emotions are increasingly being associated with the act of working itself. Anxiety, fear, and the rest become enmeshed with the feelings of work. In other words, rather than learning in this direction that you'd like, one with a calmer and more confident approach, the pattern of stress is instead reinforced. You develop this very harsh internal world in association with work. And that harshness is what got you through, after all, albeit with a few fresh scars every time. But that means that the next time you try to make it through work, you bring those same scars along. You have to push yourself even harder and injure yourself once again. It's an awful cycle. Waiting for a deadline is a force-based method of work. There's an alternative of what I call a visit-based method. Most simply stated, it's about showing up without the need to work. It sounds very odd, but it can be very powerful. You can show up for the length of a single deep breath and then put it away. If you do this early and regularly, sometimes you can finish well ahead of a deadline with much less misery. Consider trying this exercise. List out a bunch of things you've got to do. Choose one of them that maybe even is furthest out. Pay a visit to that for as short or as long as makes sense to you in that moment, but maybe for the length of at least a single deep breath. If you nudge it forward, it turns into a flow, great. If not, fine. If it's not done, do the same thing tomorrow. The visit as a unit of work is the centerpiece of the Waves of Focus course. If you're interested in learning how to get started with a visit-based type of work, consider downloading a free PDF at wavesoffocus.com/free PDF.